In Where Winds Meet, there are several chess players. Defeating them in Chinese chess will reward you with inner waynote, a core component of the game's combat progression system that is notoriously difficult to obtain. Here's a pro tip: if your sole goal is to get these inner waynote, intentionally losing to these NPCs will actually grant you more affection than winning. Once your affection reach 200, you can claim the internal skill they offer directly. If you want to experience the fun of Chinese chess and learn some interesting trivia, let's dive into the video. Chinese chess is divided into the red and black camps, with the middle of the board serving as the boundary between the two forces. Only certain pieces can cross this boundary. Some players find it confusing that the commanding pieces of the red and black camps have different Chinese characters, and for good reason. I initially thought this was illogical too, but the design actually traces back to China's Han Dynasty. Historically, the red camp was modeled after Liu Bang, the founder of the Han Dynasty, while the black camp represented his rival, Xiongnu. Xiongnu's army was known for wearing all black uniforms, whereas Liu Bang's forces featured red insignia. In the game, players always control the red camp, which has the privilege of making the first move. This rule mirrors history. Liu Bang and Xiongnu once signed a truce, represented by the 4 characters in the middle of the chessboard in the game, but Liu Bang broke the agreement and launched a surprise attack, ultimately defeating Xiongnu. Thus, the red camp's first move advantage in Chinese chess is a nod to this historical event. Another key rule is that the commanding pieces of the two camps cannot face each other directly in a straight line. There must be other pieces blocking the path. If they do meet unobstructed, the player who moved their commander into that line loses immediately. This rule also has a historical parallel. Xiongnu once challenged Liu Bang to a one-on-one duel. Xiongnu was a legendary warrior in Chinese history, while Liu Bang was already a man in his 50s. Unsurprisingly, Liu Bang declined the duel. The chess rule preventing direct confrontation between the two commanders is a tribute to this event. Now that we've covered these essential rules, we'll explain the functions of the other pieces as we play. The piece at the bottom right is the chariot. It can move horizontally or vertically any number of squares and capture any enemy piece in its path, making it the most powerful offensive piece in Chinese chess. However, it's currently blocked, so we need to move other pieces out of its way. To the left of the chariot is the horse. It moves in an L shape, 2 squares in one direction and then 1 square perpendicular, a design inspired by the flanking tactics commonly used by ancient cavalry. Above the horse is the cannon. It moves the same way as the chariot, but to capture an enemy piece, it requires a cannon mount any friendly or enemy piece between itself and the target, with no limit on the distance. Don't worry if you can't remember all these rules right away. The game will display green indicators to show valid moves for each piece. For our first move, we'll position the commander in the center of the board. Securing the middle line early will restrict the enemy general from moving left or right if there are no pieces blocking the center. Next, we'll move the horse to create space for the cannon and chariot. We'll then position the cannon in the center. If we advance the chariot to the top of the board, the enemy's only counter will be to block it with their guard. But once the guard moves, our cannon will be able to checkmate the enemy general. The correct move for the enemy right now would be to move their general out of the middle line. Let's see how they respond. Unfortunately, Wang Dayan fails to see through our strategy, so we win. We have way too many pieces in this game, so let's focus solely on demonstrating how to use the pawn. The pawn is the most basic combat unit. It can only move forward and never backward. Once it crosses into the enemy's territory, it can also move left or right, while in our own territory, forward movement is the only option. For this round, we'll try to win the game with just one pawn. Charge, little pawn. A pawn that doesn't strive to deliver checkmate is no good pawn. Alright, we won. We had way too many pieces and a huge advantage in the last game. This time, we only have a lowly single horse, the perfect chance to demonstrate how to use a lone horse. First, let's clarify our strategy. We'll position our commander in the center to restrict the enemy general's movement. Additionally, the enemy still has a guard and an elephant. We'll use the horse to capture these 2 pieces by delivering checks. Once that's done, there'll be no obstacles between the 2 commanders on the central file, allowing us to capitalize on our early central control. Alright, let's execute this plan. Remember, the horse only moves diagonally. We'll use check opportunities to force the enemy into a dilemma. At this point, no matter which direction the opponent moves, they'll be in check. So we win again. That was way too easy. In this game, we only have one more cannon than the opponent. A cannon needs a cannon mount between itself and the target to capture an enemy piece. We just happen to have our elephant, and the opponent has 2 guards, which is a good thing for us. The guards can not only act as our cannon mounts but also restrict the movement of the opponent's general. Alright, let's go. First, move our elephant into position. Wow, the opponent is surprisingly foolish. Their 2 guards have actually restricted their own general's movement directions. We win again. Alright, that wraps up today's tutorial. Now, you might be wondering why there's no separate tutorial for the chariot. Simply put, it's because the chariot is way too straightforward. To all of you who've stuck around until the end, you're all incredibly smart and eager to learn, go-getters. I have no doubt you'll master it in no time.